I was in high school, I was what you would call a nerd. Back then, it was not a term of endearment like it can be today. I hear people all the time now wear that word like a badge of honor. For my friends and me, it was like getting hit in the stomach repeatedly. High school was just different then. We would get beaten up for not liking the same music or not being into sports. It seems cliche, but it's the truth. Junior year was the worst year for all the bullying. This kid Steve tormented us all year. Towards the end of the school year, Steve thought it would be a good idea to break into the school to play one of his stupid pranks, just because he wanted to prove how cool he was. Well, Steve was so cool that he ended up getting caught. Before I continue, I should lay a little bit of groundwork first. My school is now closed, but back then it was one of the more popular private schools in this area. We had to wear uniforms and go to regular church services during school hours. The school was very old, and before being converted into a school, it was some sort of hospital for the sick. I remember hearing that when they built the school in the 50s and tore up some of the ground, they found a ton of skeletal remains from people who had passed away from tuberculosis, among other things. Because people didn't want to get sick, they would just dispose of the bodies in this underground tunnel that used to connect the hospital with another building. These stories, whether they were true or not, became the stuff of legend around my hometown, especially for students of the school. In other words, they were almost passed down like urban legends. The school being so old and looking old, I might add, was just an objectively scary place sometimes. Rumors started to swirl around that the school was haunted, like souls not resting properly and all that fun stuff. You would constantly hear strange noises all the time with no explanation, and it was just your typical school spirit response to say, yup, those noises must just be the ghosts. However, the more logical answer is that the school just made a lot of noise because the building was old and falling apart. Sorry for that detour. Back to Steve. The reason why Steve wanted to break in was that he wanted to pull this elaborate prank. He successfully broke in, started ripping classrooms apart, throwing papers everywhere, and even went to the library and pulled tons of books off the shelves. You're probably wondering how Steve got caught. Well, to cap off his ghostly prank, he went to the art room, stole red paint, and started writing a message across the lockers. Your typical horror movie tropes. He wrote things like, "Get out, your soul is next," and my personal favorite, "Death is coming." While he was writing on these lockers, Steve claimed that he heard something coming from the basement. According to Steve, he went to the basement door,